handle the truth.
Christ is risen.
Surely he is risen.
All right. So we're in for a treat, I would say. This is something that I've been looking forward to myself for a while. Today, of course, we have my co-host, the Patriotic Christian, but we're going to do a little deep dive, so to speak, into his life.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So now I appreciate you doing this. You know, it's not easy. Well, I want to say it's not easy talking about yourself. Some people love to do that, but, and I might be one of them, but yeah, you know, talking personal things about yourself with an audience of you don't know who, that's definitely easy. Yeah, for anyone, but especially for someone in your position who's been in the apologetics, polemic circles, and have had to deal with all kinds of stuff on that front. So I appreciate you doing this.
Nah, it's all good. I mean, well, you did it, and then we've asked good old Francis to join me, and he did one with you the other day as well, didn't he?
Yes, he did one yesterday. Actually, that was a ton of fun. And he did,
good.
yeah, and you know, he is looking forward to doing the one with you. So,
That's good. It's been for me. This has been like what? Well, I haven't been live now for. What was the last stream we did? I can't remember. It was a while back, wasn't it? About 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Well, yeah, a couple of weeks for sure, maybe 3. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, I've made a few remixes, but on shorts. But apart from that, obviously, well, you're aware of what's been going on. I've been absolutely up to my eyeballs. So it's nice to be back and live.
I bet.
Good, I've missed it.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you know, on that note, our brother here has definitely been going through a lot. I know we all have. We've all been put through the ringer by design, some more than others. But, you know, prayers are appreciated. Any support. Unlike myself and some others, I'm not familiar if you've got like fundraisers or anything like that going, but, you know, prayers are a real thing. You know, miracles are real. So we appreciate that as well.
Man.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I don't have any fundraisers going on, but you know, I appreciate any prayers people will throw my way.
Thank you. Yeah, so you know, I'd like to start. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, let's kick this then and get it started.
Yeah.
And let's bear in mind, people. I only found out I was doing a kind of like a testimony, right? Literally about half hour ago when I asked what topics are we doing today. So.
Yeah, no worries.
Thanks, Nico.
No problem. My pleasure. You know. Oh, by the way, on that note, next week we may have a special guest, an ex-Muslim, I believe. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, we'll just make this brief. So I've been putting out now for the past 2 weeks, even though with things going on, I haven't been live as such or doing any content. I've been putting out up on Facebook groups and other social media networks. Do you know what? This is the most abuse that I've ever got by doing this as well. Just asking for any apostates who would like to come on and share their journey with us. That's all I put. Would any people who have left Islam or are considering leaving Islam would like to join me live on my YouTube channel to have a bit of a dialogue, a discussion on your journey or how it's been for you or how you think it would be for you, what help you think you would need. You can come anonymous, you can come with an alias name, you know, you don't have to be on camera or anything like that. We don't usually come on camera. And I had a few people get in touch, and do you know what the weirdest thing was? About 5 people got in touch saying, I'd love to do this, but I'm so scared. And I was like, yeah, but you know, you can use a different name. And they're like, no, they weren't having it. But this one guy, Skylar, I think he's obviously not his real name. I don't think, maybe, but he's very, very well. He's an apostate, but he's very, very intelligent, and his knowledge on not just Islam. He's an apostate. He's left Islam, and not only has he become a Christian, he's done what I did, which is he's gone into the Protestant faith, and then he's learned a lot about that, and he's found himself on a journey to orthodoxy, just like me. So yeah, he knows a lot about Protestant. I can't get that word out of my mouth. Protestantism, but he also knows a lot about Judaism as well, and Buddhism and Hinduism, I believe he said, and he sent me quite a lot of information. We've had quite a lot of discussions here and there where I found time, and I think he did say he's going to try tune in to watch us. If not, this evening. If not, he's going to try and pop in to introduce himself. But if he can't, then he is going to join us in a foreseeable future to talk about his journey, and we even spoke about him joining us for future streams as like a trinity of you could say a trinity of guys having a good chat and argument with others. Whatever. But like Francis joins us quite often, and I always say the more the merrier. The more of us there is, the better. The stronger we are.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean, of course, you get a live stream, you get 5 or more people, it starts to get a little chaotic. But yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah,
the more the merrier. Absolutely.
It's good to have that. If I wasn't able to make it for some reason, then you could always rely on Skylar, because he's also in your time zone as well, I believe. So yeah, which is good.
Let me also point out, as far as Francis goes, whenever you guys set up that interview or testimony, anyone who's already seen the one I did with him yesterday, and you might be thinking, well, why would I want to watch it again? What the dynamic Francis and I have, I mean, he loves to give me the business. So if you watched it yesterday, you'll see there was a lot of back and forth, a lot of jabbing and joking and stuff like that. So watching a testimony with the Patriotic Christian here and Francis would be a completely different stream, believe it or not. So I encourage you guys to check that out whenever that comes to fruition.
Yeah, that would be. I'm looking forward to that. When I did message him earlier today, actually, to let him know I will be in touch. So
cool.
Yeah.
And also the following week, I still want to get to that discussion about mass media monism, the messaging, and whether or not Christianity is quote unquote multicultural, inclusive, equal, and all these buzzwords that are used to weaponize different groups against each other.
Yeah, of course. I'll cover that with you. That'd be great.
Cool. Okay, so let's get to it. I'd like to start with little icebreakers, a little warm up, if you will, and get right into my favorite topic of mass media and favorites. So let's start with the top of the list, movies. We all watch movies, right? What are some of your favorite movies, or your favorite, either way?
Oh, my favorite of all time's got to be Pearl Harbor.
No hesitation. Okay.
Why? Why? Well, I love war films. I don't know why, but I do. It's got, obviously, it contains history, so you learn from it. But it's full of action. But there's a bit of everything in Pearl Harbor. You got the romance, you got drama, you got war, you got the action, you got everything on there. And even though it's a 3-hour-long film, it feels like a lot quicker than when you're watching the Titanic, which is also a 3-hour film. But it's I don't know. I've just always loved it. I really have. It's just my go-to. It's my favorite.
I hate to admit it, but I haven't watched that one, so I have to check it out.
Yeah. Oh no. That's not good.
Yeah, I mentioned my favorite yesterday. Like Francis put me on the spot. He said, "Well, what's your favorite?" And my favorite was Good Will Hunting. Still is, but he never even heard of Yeah, so there you go. You never heard of it either, have you? Oh, me.
No, I haven't. Go on,
I'm,
what's
get,
it about?
I'm getting old. That's what that means. Yeah. Well, it's a drama. It's a pretty intense, but ironically, the two actors it made their career. It was Ben Affleck and Matt Damon in it when they were young.
Well,
They
Ben
actually,
Affleck's in Pearl Harbor.
I know, yeah, yeah, among other things, and Matt Damon too. They both, I mean, yeah, they both had tremendous careers after this one. But they both, from what I remember, they wrote the script. And so, but what's interesting is that they actually made fun of it repeatedly, but especially was it in the Clerk, the Mallrats. The Mallrats are making fun of it and all that. Their special project that they wanted to do together and all that, and put them on the map. They started making fun of it afterwards, which was kind of weird. But anyway, so that's my favorite. And if you haven't seen it, I mean, I think it's worth checking out for some people. It's not, I wouldn't call it a wholesome Christian movie, but it definitely has some redemptive values to it for sure.
Yeah. Do you know what did you say it's called again?
Good Will Hunting, 3 words.
I'll tell you what. Send that over to me on Skype after, so I can check. I'll check that out later.
You know what's interesting? Oh no, I was going to say, yeah, that came out later. I was going to say the other movie that I like, it's in my top 5, is As Good as It Gets. And that
Again,
one,
I haven't heard of that.
yeah, well, that came out the same year Titanic did, but Titanic just stole all the thunder. But that one's pretty good too. Again, not a wholesome Christian movie. In fact, it promotes the LBGBS thing and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, but still, it has some really good redemptive value to it, and it's about people with OCD.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, yeah. Well, I'll try to avoid that one. No, I'm joking. No, I will. I'll have a look. So send them over, and I'll definitely watch them when I get a bit of time. obviously, you know what I'll be watching later, though.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, let's not get into that because we don't want to. Well, you know what? Let's talk about. Well, actually, yeah. What would be your favorite activity other than watching movies?
My favorite activity. Well, I don't know if it will be legal to say.
Okay. Oh, I don't know what
No,
that
I'm
means.
joking.
Let's not touch that.
No, I'm joking. Favorite activity? Oh, I don't know really. You know what? Right, this is a big secret of mine, but well, apart from my partner and my family know, I enjoy singing.
Singing, epic. I did not see that coming.
Yeah, I play guitar as well. Do you know what? I was on a X Factor. I know you had it over there for a while as well, didn't you? But
Yeah.
yeah, I met Simon Cowell and Sharon Osbourne and Louis Walsh. This was back in 2006 or 2005. Yeah.
Wow. Hey man, I actually went out for
Allah.
I actually went out for American Idol. When I was young. Yeah, but speaking of age, I was actually a little too old, so I didn't get my shot. But that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to meet Paula Abdul was my thing. Not Simon Kyle. I wanted to meet Paula Abdul, but never got that shot. But yeah, I had my whole swooner routine and everything ready to go.
That's amazing. Yeah, well, I really did enjoy singing. I took it as a subject at school as well. I wanted to further go into it in a further education when I left school, but my mum wouldn't let me do it. Like she was just dead against it. She said it was a course that would lead me nowhere. But what I studied anyway hardly led me anywhere anyway. So I don't know why she just didn't let me go ahead. But there we go.
Well, I got to say 2 things to that, if I may. 1, mom is always right, but 2, I got to disagree with mom in this case. I think it would have led you somewhere. It would have led you to poverty for sure. So, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it would have been fun.
I did this one cover. I downloaded. You got these apps now, like Smule, SingStar, stuff like that. I downloaded Smule when it first came out. This 2017, and I did a cover with Anne Marie, and then she actually commented on my cover, and then I actually joined her in like where like you can stream like we do from a different place. We actually streamed together one of her songs.
Mm.
So it was I can't remember. I'm trying to think of the name of the song without trying to sing it. 2002. Yeah, 2002 by Anne Marie. Yeah. So I covered that with her own song, and the video on Smule, it got like hundreds of thousands of views, but that was the only one that
Wow.
did. It
You
was
got to
brilliant.
share that with me, man, so we can put it in the description. That's awesome.
I'll have to download it all again and do it. I will do it. I haven't seen it for a while.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
I didn't even know who she is. Like my mate turned around and said, "Do you know who she is?" I was like, "No." And he goes, "That's Anne Marie." I was like, "Yeah." And yeah, and then we're like, yeah, "Right, okay, yeah, you need your head sorted." And I was just like, "Oh, what's all the fuss about?" And then I found out. I was like, "Oh, wow,
Yeah.
okay." Should have
Wow,
asked her for a number.
yeah, exactly. I mean, she was definitely a lot of people's heartthrob, at least back in the day.
Yeah, she was, especially H when he even put her in her lyrics. But there you go.
Mm.
So yeah. So what? Apart from that, one of my other main activities I like doing is watching boxing, and
Cool.
obviously tonight we have got the best boxing match in history, I believe.
Mm.
That's going to take place. It's a generation. We won't see this happen again. What's going to happen tonight for a very long time, undisputed. Hopefully, Tyson Fury will bring back all the belts to the UK, which is where they belong. That's what I believe. You may disagree, but
yeah. I'm unfortunately, as let's talk about that on that note. You are, or from what you've told me, you have some experience boxing. I, on the other hand, have. I mean, I've actually met not Sugar Ray Leonard. That's going way back. Have you ever heard of Sugar Ray Leonard?
Of course I have. The guy's amazing.
Yeah, he was. He was amazing. Yeah, I mean he was, and he was such a class act. Just like he looks like on television, that's how he is in person, man. He was such a cool character. It was a pleasure meeting that guy.
Have you got a favorite boxer?
Well, I mean that he would have to be it. I mean, just because of just his personality and his accomplishments. So no small thing.
Yeah.
How about yourself?
It's between two, which three actually. Tyson Fury, I absolutely adore him because he made a comeback. He found himself at the depths of hell. He's a Christian, and he loves to. He always, whenever he has a win or a loss or whenever he's speaking, he always speaks in the name of Jesus Christ, and that's what I absolutely adore about him. And sometimes they block it off. They do. I've seen a video where they shut people off when people say, "I won this fight, thanks to God," or "Thanks in the name of Jesus." And as soon as they go, "Sorry, we lost the connection," now, especially in America. I watched this one video where there were so many sports events with tennis, boxing, football, rugby, the lot, where someone like a player or the participant has gone to speak or be interviewed, and as soon as they bring up God or religion or anything, they go, "Oh, sorry, we lost the connection there. We don't know what happened. Hopefully we can get them back." And this compilation video of the amount of times it's happened, wow. it really does wake you up of how bad it is. The attack.
Any chance you could dig that one up, I would love to be able to share that.
Oh yeah, I got.
Put it on your list.
Remind me, because I will forget with a list of things I've got to do.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, and you do keep busy. I don't know how you and others do it. Like, I mean, not that I'm not busy. I put in I don't know how many hours a week myself, like 70-hour work weeks, and don't even get paid half what I need to be getting paid. But anyway, not for me and my war stories. Yeah, but like, all right, so let's go back to the boxing thing. I mean, would it be out of line for me to ask your boxing experiences and all that? You want to get into that, or is that something we should be talking about?
Well, I don't mind. Yeah, well, I got thrown into it when I was younger. So I enjoyed it. I did that amongst football and rugby when I was like in my early teens. So I enjoyed it then, but then I got serious about it when I was, well, I was in a relationship that went sour, and then I was on my own, and I ended up working in a gym, in a boxing gym. And the guy called Pat, he was a Christian guy. He was a lovely guy. He gave me free access and to the gym and stuff, and he asked me to do pad work with the kids as part of what I was doing as a job there, like occupying the gym and keeping it clean and checking people in. And so then he taught me how to do pad work, and then in return he also gave me free boxing lessons, and I took it seriously, and I really really enjoyed it. But at the same time, I had a addiction with alcohol, so after a while he kept noticing the smell of my breath, and he kept saying basically unless I packed it in, he wouldn't continue to do so. And then, yeah, I chose alcohol over it. But he said I could have gone somewhere. He said the way I was, even when I was going in steaming drunk, like I was really good. And then I tried getting back into it again about a year ago. I went only a few times, and it was just to lose weight. And the coach said, my lord, I've been waiting for someone like you to walk in through those doors for a very long time. And he said, will you make sure that you come more frequent so we can, get you into some good matches and that. I explained, look, although I've quit alcohol and stuff, I've still got problems with my health, and I told him, like, I've got end-stage liver disease and that potentially may need a transplant in the future. And once I said that, he said, well, this can't go anywhere. But he said, had I worked with you for, he said, a matter of months, he said he would have got me definitely into semi-professional, professional boxing. Easy.
Oh, wow.
And wherever I've gone, like for instance, when I was in prison, there was guys in there that have participated in the Olympics with boxing, and I was doing pad work with them, and I was, even when they were doing pad work for me, they were saying that I was so quick for my size that they hadn't seen anyone my size move as quick as that before, and they were shocked. And because I'm quite an intelligent guy, because boxing's not a sport, it's more of an art. It's not just, it's not a fight neither. It's you have to figure out 5 moves ahead, and what ifs are constant. So it's, if he throws this, what do I slip? Do I fade away? Do I parry him? It's, you got to think ahead constantly, and it's more mentally draining than physically draining. So, because you're constantly under pressure thinking what's coming next, because it takes one punch and it's game over. So, yeah, it could have gone somewhere. I reckon if I would have took it seriously when I was younger and stayed in, more than 5 years or whatever, and with all the breaks in between and going, and did it from being a teenager, I reckon I could have gone far, definitely. But the problem is it brings out a different side to you. Which, well, for some people it does. For me, it did. It brought a different side out of me. It built up too much confidence, if that makes sense. And you start looking.
It gets rid of your inhibitions. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And then when you start looking for people to practice on, that's when you know it. You got to leave it alone.
It's funny you say that. When it came to my, growing up, I did get in a lot of fights, but I was picked on a lot because I was the foreigner or the white kid, whatever the case may be. So I was picked on a lot. I mean, I've been through all kinds of abuse, all kinds.
Yeah.
So, but I wasn't.
Oh, bear with me. Sorry.
No worries. I wasn't out looking for fights. Just something that I felt like I had to do to defend myself, so to speak. And
Yeah.
literally, yeah. But when I got into martial arts, like when I was an adolescent, from teenager onto my young adulthood, all of a sudden, yeah, I became the person you described. All of a sudden, I was looking for a fight. I was like, always had on my mind, snapping limbs and things like that, because I was being, yeah, so I was training with that, with that stuff habitually, like every day, and so it was always on
Yeah.
my mind. And next thing you know,
So
I was the guy that was like jumping head first into a melee.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And do you know what the worst thing what I was doing as well, which is even worse, I think. It was when I was getting into to a stage, especially when I was before I went to prison and sorted the alcohol out. I was going to pubs constantly, and I would literally try and find someone that was looking for a fight. And I wouldn't just take him on. I would want to make sure there was at least 2 or 3, just to, just because when you know that what damage you can actually do to like one person, and then when you're in this state of mind, you then try to like increase the challenge a bit. So it's like, well, one
Yeah.
person, and is boring now. I know what I can do. And it's like, because you're trained and you're confident, you don't get your jelly legs no more. You can just walk up to someone, it's good night. So you think, well, what if I did 2? And then you do 2. And then you think, well, shall I try to take it on 3? And then before you know it, you're in an instant like I was with my brother, where we're marching down the street and there's 15 men trying to chase us. And my brother's like, shall we go? Shall we go? And then I'm turning around and saying, no, we're fighting our way out of this. And we did.
You're kidding.
No, that was a very, and the problem, I feel guilty even to this day, because I made my brother stay. I tried teaching him a lesson. It was he rang me. He was getting picked on at a pub, and instead of like sticking up for himself, it was only like 3 guys, and they were younger than him. He rings his big brother, doesn't he? Can you come pick me up? So I was like, oh, yeah. God, all right. So I go down and pick him up, and I see the kids. I go out of the car. So you pick up my brother. He said, yeah, I dealt with them. Then we go and park the car somewhere so that, I can walk him back to our parents' house. And next thing you know, there's 15 blokes marching out the road. My brother's like, what's up, this? Let's go. I don't know. Go where? I said, nowhere. I said, don't matter how many there is, Aaron, you stand your ground. And he was just like, no. I said, Aaron, if you walk off, I'll batter you myself. And he's like, yeah, I ain't having that. So, yeah, we went forward. And next thing you know, I got pinned up against these railings by all these guys. And this one guy who I didn't get on with, we had a dispute for such a long, long time. It was a really bad feud. Basically, he took the opportunity of just continuously punching me in the face for about 3 or 4 minutes.
Wow.
Fair play to my brother. Out of nowhere, this courage just come out, and he rugby tackled the guy that was doing it. And as soon as he managed to do that, I managed to deal with the other guy, about 4 or 5 of the other guys, and then they all ran off. So, but yeah, and Aaron, my brother, his first ever like fight that he did, he knocked the guy out that I had the biggest feud with. And it was brilliant. But I mean, to this day now, I mean, the guy he passed away sadly, and I wish, obviously now as a Christian, that I managed to deal with things with him in a different manner. But it comes with it. I have prayed for when I found out that he had passed away. I had just come to Christianity, and I prayed for forgiveness. And I actually prayed because I knew of his lifestyle, that God would have mercy on him and, wouldn't send him to hell type thing. But if you would have asked me about a year before, would I have wanted him to go to hell, I would have said some heinous things about the guy. There was a lot. It wasn't just arguing when we saw each other. He attacked me in a car once with a screwdriver. This one occasion, he put windows through when I was with my ex-partner and their 2 children at night. And the dogs got hurt. And then he slashed my tires. There was loads and loads of problems. So yeah, it was yeah, that time to see my brother deck him, that was pretty good. But you know, when, like I said, when people pass away and then you can't solve things or sort it out or apologize, you know, you think, was it really worth it? All that? And you know, now I come completely against it all.
Yeah.
And having the Holy Spirit work within me as well, I've noticed there's been so many occasions where I could have easily had an opportunity to have a scrap with loads of people, and I walk away naturally now. Whereas before, I never had that power, and I used to call it power because I couldn't believe anyone could do it. Like, if I've always thought, and I've always brought up, if someone, you know, gives you abuse or starts to fight with you, you stand there and you fight back. That's it. You got no choice. But now I've had it where people call me now. I just it doesn't bother me in the slightest. I just walk away, and that the only thing that could make that happen is something divine, because nothing on earth would have made me change my mind on that. Apart from, you know, it's strange. It's strange.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to explain. I mean, I think I can relate. Like, I don't know so much now. I think, I mean, I'm embarrassed to admit, I'm ashamed to admit, I might have deviated from that. Let's call it a taste of grace. But yeah, there was a time in my life where I was going through what you're describing, and I can understand it. Before that, I was different. Since then, I've backslid, as I say, and changed. But during that period where I had a stronger bond with God because I invested in it, I was not able, but it was just naturally came that people would say and do all kinds of things, and I would literally not think nothing of it. It would affect me none whatsoever because I wasn't ego driven. And I think that's a big thing.
Have you, like, well, how can I say this? Like, now, say if someone like come up to you and just randomly started giving you abuse, what would your reaction be now?
Now I've gotten away. I mean, in fact, not too long ago, I literally almost got into it with someone who was at my home. I felt threatened. I was at my home. He got loud. He was cursing me. And so, feeling cornered, I kind of freaked out and panicked and snapped and was ready to attack him. And he saw that, and thankfully, instead of, I mean, he was a big guy. He's a bruiser himself. So thankfully, he's wise enough, old enough to just let it go, and he left instead of reacting.
Yeah. See, for me, it depends on the situation. I mean, if it involves friends or family, being put at risk, then you know I've still got it there. But if it was just me personally, now I'd always walk away, and unless I kind of had no choice, if that makes sense. If you're cornered and you can't walk away, then yeah, of course.
Exactly what happened to me. I mean, I can't just leave my house. It just doesn't happen. Makes no sense. So, right. So, let me ask you. Let me go back, if you don't mind. And I hate talking about these things, but since you brought it up, and then since you're confiding in us, let me just say for the audience, I too went through a bout of drinking in my 20s, and it lasted a few years, and it was what I, in retrospect, call The Walking Dead, and I call it The Walking Dead before The Walking Dead ever came out. So just the state of living. I was like, it's not that I was suicidal or anything, but I just didn't care about life, which in essence is really the same thing.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, is that something that you'd like to touch on and talk about, or not?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think this is very important. It's I find it very easy to talk about because I realize the importance of it. And there's many people who will probably watch this now that probably don't think they've got an alcohol problem, yet they do. And let's say I've got a lot of family members and a lot of friends who believe drinking a bottle of wine every night or drinking 4 or 5 cans of lager, cider, whatever you want every night is not a problem.
Well,
But it is. And that's called alcoholism. And you are an alcoholic. And the people don't believe that, and they think that you have to look a certain way, feel a certain way, or whatever. But if you realize the damage that alcohol does to your liver and your gut and everything else, which is what I learned after,
right.
you'd be, trust me, you'd avoid it with a barge pole. But see, my problem is I could never have one. And from the age of 12, I drank, and this is, do you know what? This got me. Covered this with Fidias from Reason Dancers, because a lot of people were shocked when I told them how bad it was for me. And whenever I've spoken in AA and other talks that I've given that brings this up, people are shocked. I've been on TV because of it. I was on the news. But yeah, I nearly died 3 times, but we'll get into that. So age 12, there was a period of my life where I used to be a bit too scared to go home. I had a stepdad that I didn't really get on with that well. And if something had happened, either school or somewhere where I would have been in trouble, let's say, or I knew that I was about to be in trouble, I used to have to drink to go home and face the music. Then it was more of a party thing. So from the age of 14 to 15, I started clubbing. So I used to go out night clubbing to like all the discos and that. They used to let you in, and I mainly started drinking spirits. So I used to love vodka. Then it was whiskey and brandy and you know, the WKD. I used to drink all them, like Alco Pops, and I used to love them. And also like white cider. I don't know if you get cider over in where you are.
Well, it's not as popular, I don't think, but yeah,
it's a very popular drink. Yeah, very popular. Especially where I live, it's the staple drink. It's the go-to drink. So yeah, I used to be able to down off a 35 cl bottle of vodka aged 13 and nothing would happen. And then age 14, I was waking up with the shakes, experiencing delirium tremens.
Wow.
Yeah, I had it really rough. And after that, I joined so I went to college. I used to drink during college time. And this is when I was hiding it. So I was hiding it, but people clicked on sometimes. So my classmates, they all knew what I was doing, but like none of the teachers did. Twice they did catch me drinking and I got sent home, which is not a good thing, being sent home from college.
No. Not especially for that. It's kind of, at least in America, that's kind of counterintuitive. So that speaks to how bad the problem was. Yeah,
and but I thought it was okay because, like, even on my break, I was going to someone who I considered to call. Well, I used to call him my uncle, and I used to drink a whole liter of whiskey or vodka with him before I went back to college and study. And then I'd finish college and go back to his and get another one. And then end up getting that drunk that I had to stay the night or couldn't get home because I'd missed the bus. And this was happening like 4 or 5 days a week. And then, of course, the weekend would come and then I'd be out clubbing. So, yeah, so it went like that. And then I joined the TA, the Territorial Army. And again, I was drinking whilst training, just drinking all the time. Every type of, like, every weekend
It was just based on alcohol. Every event was based around alcohol. There wasn't any time you didn't involve it. And if there was, like places like going to the cinema, I'd just put it in a bottle of Coke, and people wouldn't know that I was drinking alcohol.
I used to do that too. It's funny.
Yeah. And even like lemonade, I used to pour vodka in lemonade, so people used to just think it was lemonade. So it's, yeah, you develop these kind of tricks that you can get away with. So this went on, and then I'd say about age 21, that's when I was getting the serious withdrawal symptoms. That's where I was, I had a seizure and ended up in hospital. And then they did checks on me, on my liver, and they said, you have what we call fatty liver, which is the first step of liver disease. They said, but if you knock it on the head, if you knock the blues on the head now, your liver will recover. Of course, I didn't listen to them. I thought they were chatting rubbish. I thought, well, I was a bit too young. And they mentioned the word cirrhosis, and I thought, well, only 60-year-olds have cirrhosis. So there's no chance that's happening to me. So I continued. And,
I'm sorry. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with the gospel here.
Yeah. No, it's true. Like, people don't realize how quick you can develop this stuff. And and then age 25, I started vomiting blood. I was really ill, and the withdrawal symptoms were that bad. But the anxiety attacks. I mean, I was waking up every 1 to 2 hours during the night when I was supposed to be sleeping to down off a pint of spirits with some kind of mixer, or down off a pint of lager or cider just to get myself stable again. So yeah, it was really bad. And then 25 I had the bleed, and they in a space of between the ages of 25 and 27, I had over 32 inpatient detoxes.
Wow.
Hospital, yeah. And during most of them, I was drinking inside the hospital. This one time,
wow, dude.
Yeah. This one time during the Euros, I actually got the whole ward drunk, and I got 4 people discharged from hospital.
Wow.
And on another occasion, there was this there was a ward. There was 4 of us on there for the same thing, for an alcohol detox. And again, I got us all drunk, and we ended up all being discharged, because here we have free healthcare. However, if you decide to abuse it, if you're in there for like to have an inpatient detox, so if you go in with something that's to do with alcohol, like you've got the withdrawals or you've had a seizure, if it's your first time that it's happened, and you ask them to help you, 9 times out of 10 they will. But if you've been there a few times and then you keep coming back because of an alcohol-related problem, and then ask them to detox you, they're reluctant to do so. So when you do that, and you've done it the amount of times I did, yeah, they were kind of annoyed with me. So this one occasion, it was that bad where I didn't listen to them. I'd just been released. I was getting alcohol brought into hospital for me whilst they were feeding me all these withdrawal medications like diazepam, chlorlibrium, and stuff like that. And so I got discharged, and where they thought I was sober and ready to go. I went to the shop, got 1 bottle of cider, and the next thing you know, I was vomiting that much blood. It wouldn't stop, and this clot the size of a cricket ball come out, and I had it in my hand, and I didn't know what it was.
Wow.
So I thought, I'm in trouble here, and it wouldn't stop. And I managed to lose all my energy, and I had to crawl to the hospital from the shop
and I just made it to the doors, and I passed out, and I woke up, and I was in intensive care. I was there for 3 weeks, and they told my whole family. They said, he ain't leaving here. You know, you come in, say your goodbyes. We reckon he's got a few days here. You know, his liver's fell in. Yeah, I had my last rites. I had everything.
Wow.
Yeah, it was scary. And then, so after 3 weeks, I went on to a normal ward. I was on there for a week. I got my friends bringing me in booze again. And then I got discharged. And I was told, if you continue drinking, you'll die again. And then when I got discharged this time, it took a day and I started vomiting blood again. But this time I was in a tent. And I covered the whole tent red and the person with me red, because I was homeless at this point. My family and friends, they had given up. They tried supporting me in every way they could, and they all the bridges I burnt down. The way I was when I was intoxicated as well, it was very abusive, very violent. I was just nasty. Everyone cut me off. They had enough, and it was very. So I was very, you know, I didn't care neither. You know, I just thought, oh, they're horrible. But, you know, I look back now and I feel so terrible for what I put them through. But yeah, and then I was at a point now where I thought, something's got to give. And I'd lost all my body weight and I was yellow as Homer Simpson. And I was told that I literally had a few days left to live if I touched any drink. I was told that I couldn't even drink vinegar or have anything that's got alcohol in it. I even had to avoid certain mouthwash. That's how bad it was.
Oh.
But yeah, so then I thought the only thing I can do, because the hospital refused to detox me again, and I wanted to do it seriously. I thought the only thing that's going to help me, that's going to give me a home, that's going to stop me from drinking alcohol, that's going to help me with my mental health, help build bridges back with my family, and do me some good, is prison.
Prison. Okay, didn't see that one
Prison,
coming.
yeah. So I was already on bail for a couple of common assaults, where a group of like sixth form students, they were like 18. They tried taking my bag off me, and it turned into a violent situation. When it got to court, I had no choice but to plead guilty, because to my criminal record, I wouldn't have been able to stand a trial because there was four against one. So my barrister said, just plead guilty. It's not worth you having a trial. So anyway, I pled guilty, and I was already on bail. So me and this other guy who was in the same position as me, his nickname was Turbo, we decided to have one last sesh. So we got drunk. We went into Tesco's, robbed a crate of Stella Artois lager and a bottle of champagne. And we headed down the council, who refused to house us. And again, we got evicted because of our behaviour due to alcohol. And we smashed the windows, and we stayed put, and we waited for the police to come, and they come, and we celebrated when they come, and we sprayed them with champagne. Turbo went over the top and decided to defecate on the pavement. When they turned up, yeah, that was it was funny at the time, but it was also a bit over the top. But yeah, I was celebrating, you know, that this, you know, I was going to get out. This is the end of this life for me. There's going to be change. And yeah, luckily, the police station refused us both bail. And then I started my sentence in prison. And that was my first day of sobriety, which has gone all the way up to now. That was 5 years, nearly 5 years ago. Now, I have had 2 or 3 what they call lapses, is where at times where I've drank alcohol, but it's not lasted for, you know, longer than a day or 2 or whatever. I jumped back on the wagon. It didn't relapse, if that makes sense. It didn't turn into, you know, continuous, you know, ongoing again. So I've had like 3 mishaps at most during that 5 years, but they've also been like learning curves for me, if that makes sense, as to, again, why it doesn't work. So yeah, alcohol, it's something else. It really is.
It doesn't work. Is that something we can explore, or should we go on to the next question?
Yeah, well, it doesn't work.
What
And
do
the
you mean?
problem is people drink and they think, oh, it'll help with my anxiety, but yet what they don't realize is the chemicals that it kind of destroys your inhibitors, or what they're called.
Mm,
Um, the very next day are worse because of the alcohol. So you're doing more damage than good.
mm. Yeah, that makes sense. Perfect sense. And I can relate. All right. So you
Yeah.
mentioned you were on the news, or did I mishear you?
Yeah. So I was on the news about how many times I'd been in the hospital, and
Wow.
at one point, I wanted to help out young people who had mental health problems that turned to alcohol and drugs as a crutch, to help them get by. So I started talking, but even then, after a week of helping and doing those talks, I relapsed, and I even started doing talks whilst intoxicated.
Oh
But
no.
people never knew, and that's the like.
That's
I was a manager. I was a manager at a call center, and I was doing really well. I was driving, and I was doing absolutely all sorts. And there's a term, what you call a functioning alcoholic, which
yeah.
is someone who can drink alcohol, even blow negative on a alcohol test, but they could have drank a whole liter of whiskey. And once your body builds up the tolerance, it takes a lot to get someone drunk. Like for me, it used to take a good 80 to 90 units for me to, be tipsy or feel drunk.
80 to 90 units. I'm not sure what that means. For
So
could
there's
you?
about there's 40 units in a liter of 1 liter of vodka or whiskey.
Gotcha.
So
Wow.
mm.
Yikes. Okay. So you were a, how can I put it? Celebrity drunk? Is that a good way to put it? I mean, you
kind,
basically,
kind, kind of, yeah.
I mean, you got your 5 minutes of fame because of, going in.
Helping out.
All right.
Yeah, yeah. It was called Booze Britain or something. Yeah, it was like a little ITV news clip of me all that lasted all of 5 minutes.
Okay. So uh, you pretty much stopped because of prison. Is that right?
Yeah,
Or was there something else?
a mixture of prison and it was because of my health mainly. I
Mm,
mean, I at the time you got to think I had a relationship breakdown. Um, there was a core. What people don't understand is people take drugs and alcohol because there's an underlying issue. Some don't even know what the underlying issue is. Like me, I didn't know what the underlying issue was. All I knew is that I just wanted to be drunk all the time. When I went to prison and spoke to a counselor for the first time,
mm,
and they turned around and told me and spoke about my childhood and experiences I've had and stuff like that. And I was able to let out what happened to me as a child and through my teenage years and stuff. Once I was able to address that, I realized that I didn't need the alcohol and that I didn't need to continue feeling or trying to make things fun anymore. So in essence, all I was trying to do was create happiness through alcohol because I was unhappy. Yeah, I didn't admit that I was unhappy, if that makes sense.
mm.
But I was unhappy for a reason, and that reason was mental health from the childhood. It was PTSD. And once I got that diagnosis, and then I started receiving CBT for it and stuff like that, all the problems went away. I didn't feel like I needed a drink, and even now I can go down the alcohol. People drink in front of me all the time. It doesn't bother me. I'm happy with my Dr Pepper Zero and Pepsi Max. That's good enough for me. Yeah, no, it
That
seriously is.
I guess you can say that stuff is well, I don't know about definitely, but at least somewhat less toxic than booze.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's another habit I got a kick.
yeah, same here. Um, okay, so there was the alcohol, and because of, well, facing losing your life, but that wasn't enough. While you're going in and out of the hospital, you got chased pretty much off of away from detox programs because of you're habitually doing that.
Yeah.
Um, then you decided, well, prison's the way to go, and you forced yourself into prison. You got counseling. You saw a different perspective on things, and that helped you appreciate your life maybe a little more. Or
Yeah.
was that? Yeah.
Yeah, whilst I was drinking and told her, you're going to die, you're going to do this. I used to say to the liver consultant, you're mad. I ain't dying. I ain't going nowhere. I feel fine. Even when I had a priest come over and I said, I'm not Catholic. What are you doing? They come over to my bed. My mum asked them to come over. And he started doing the last rites over me. And I said, yeah, I was ill, but I even said, I'm not dying. What are you on about? Well, leave me alone. Go away.
So that what? Even that was now your priest reading your last rites. Even that was now your bottom.
No, I was telling them. I was telling them straight. I was like, listen, I am not going to die today, tomorrow, next week, or even next year. Like, yes, I'm poorly, but I'm walking out of here and I'm going to the pub. So, stop doing all this stuff. Stop telling me what's going to happen. Even my liver consultant, she say to me, well, this one occasion, she said, you literally are not going to be alive in a week because
Wow.
I don't think you. She said, you are not walking out of these doors. You're dying in here. And I laughed in her face and said, you're a mad woman. You are a crazy woman. I said, that is not happening. Which I was right. I suppose I had that spirit to just fight on, I suppose. And or kind of spiritually knew I wasn't ready to go yet. It wasn't my time.
Huh.
But
well, let me just I kind of felt myself for a long time, for a couple of decades now, that I'm on borrowed time. So I think I can relate to what you're saying there.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off. You were going to say?
So, no, nothing. What was I going to say? I forgot what I was going to say now.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm good for that.
Yeah, I mean, like now, yeah, I value life a lot more. I mean, even then, I thought to myself, well, if I do die, it would be just like a long sleep. But then, of course, in prison, that's when I come to Christianity, which I never, in my wildest dreams, thought would happen.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's common, at least in our circles, we hear that people go to prison and then they get, or at least they get approached by Muslims trying to convert them to Islam, one way or another. So
I had that.
You had that too? Okay.
So
there you go.
I got my single cell status because of radicalization. So basically, the first week that I was in prison, I went to this one jail, and they put me inside with this guy. Funnily enough, was called Muhammad, and I was none the wiser to Islam then, nor much of Christianity. I knew the nativity, stuff like that. I knew about Jesus dying on the cross, and that was about it. But yeah, they told me he was Muslim, and I thought, oh right, the guy must eat Indian food and cook a good curry. That was it. That's all I thought Islam was. I thought it was just an Eastern culture. That was all it was to me. I didn't know what a prophet was. I didn't know any of this stuff. So I went in blind, and but basically, the first night I was there, and the guy he got up about 4:30 or 5 in the morning to start praying. And he woke me up and said, come on, you got to get down on your knees. Here's a mat. You need to pray. And I said, what are you on, mate? I said, that ain't happening. I said, you do what you got to do. You do you, mate. That ain't me. And he said, well, you have to, or you're going to go to hell. And I laughed at him. I said, if you believe in that stuff, I said, you're nuts. I said, you're in the wrong place. And he said, well, you've really offended me. He goes, we'll talk about it later. So I went back to sleep. And he came up so lunch came, he didn't speak to me. And then we was out on association. There was 3 of them then. They come up, he brought 2 of his friends over. And they basically said to me, here's the Quran. You need to read it. You need to read most of it. Muhammad here will go through the fundamentals of Islam. with you tonight in your cell. If you don't accept Islam by tomorrow, then we're going to knife you up in the showers.
Right.
I was like, right, okay, so I'm not like what you would call a grass or a snitch or anything like that. I'm not one to go, but I thought this threat was very serious, and I knew this was serious. And not only that, I was having the effects. I was withdrawing off all my medications that I was on from the outside. I was withdrawing from alcohol. I was already, in a place that I was alien to, and everything was, a shock for me at the time. So I had to go speak to someone. So I did. I spoke to a prison guard about it, and he said, look, do what most people do. Just take your shahada and just, leave it at that. Just pretend. And I was like, what? This is like, I've got honor for myself. I'm not going to do something just because someone's bullying me into doing it. I'm not that guy. And he says, well, deal with it then. Oh, boy,
Right.
sure I did. So come that night, the guy goes through the fundamentals. I said, listen, I ain't listening to it. I said, you're on your own. I said, if you fancy your chances with me in the cell tonight, I said, look, try it. And he didn't, because he tried discussing the fundamentals. So he was like, okay. He said, tomorrow, like my boys, they're going to have you and they're going to wet you up in the showers. And I said, well, he says I'm having a shower tomorrow. He says, don't worry. We got our ways. So we went to bed. I waited for him to go to sleep. It must have been about 1 o'clock in the morning. And he was on the top bunk. So I got out of the bed, grabbed him by his head, dragged him off the bed, wrapped his leg around the ladder, the metal bars, and started pulling in the opposite direction until he was screaming. And the next thing you know, there was about 11 prison guards come running in through the doors. They were all geared up and stuff like that, started battering me. And I got taken down in a segregation unit. But I'd find out that I had broken the guy's leg in 2 places. Well, he had 2 fractures and he had to go to hospital. But I did. I warned them, and when I was put in front of the governor for punishment, they asked me like, why didn't you go and approach one of the members of staff? I said I did. I said, and he told me to deal with it. He told me to either take the shahada, which is completely against what I would want to do, or deal with it. So I dealt with it. You guys didn't deal with it. And they just let me go. And they said, look, Mohammed doesn't want to press charges anyway. You're being shipped out to a different prison, and you're now going to be put as a single cell status.
Cool.
And they put
up in the prison world.
Well, yeah, but they put it down to racism. I got then classed as a racism for not taking my shahada. So there we go. Yeah. That's how the prison works here in the UK. It's even worse in Category A prisons. This was a Category B prison. But yeah, it is bad. It's really bad.
I mean, I'm not taking a shahada either, so call me racist too, if that's what it means.
Yeah, and obviously now I know what I know about Islam and Christianity and the love I have for Jesus. I would rather lose my head or be flayed or burn alive in boiling water than have a chemical bath and never take a shahada.
Yeah, that's pretty much what they do to some people. It just so happens.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. So we'll definitely cover that. I mean, so that's your experience with Islam. I mean, join Islam or else.
That was the first experience with it, yeah.
The first experience, okay. All right, I'm sorry. It sounds like I interrupted again. What's the rest of it? What's the rest of the story?
Well, so I went to, I got released. So I got transferred from that prison to another prison, then that one to another one. And then I come out on what they call parole, which I'm sure is the same familiarity as it is in the States as it is in the UK parole. But, when you're on parole, if you breach any conditions, you go back to finish the rest of your sentence. So that's what I had to do. I ended up in this one. And there was someone that I grew up with who was Muslim. And I was shocked at this. I mean, I was already started to look into Christianity. But when I was to find out that my friend was a Muslim, and he gave me the Quran and told me to read it, and he was telling me all these amazing things. He was saying, "Did you know that Muhammad predicted this and Muhammad predicted that and all this?" I was like, "Really, really, really?" He said, "Yeah, even the Big Bang's written in the Quran." And he was like, "Did you know this?" And like, I said, "What? Literally the Big Bang?" He said, "Yeah." So he gives me the Quran. I take it myself. He goes, "Read it." I read it. And I read about 3 or 4 pages, and I had to just hand it back to him. I said, "This is sick." And he said, "What?" And I said, "There's nothing in there about the Big Bang." I said, "Look, that says something about killing infidels. That says something about doing this to someone else." I said, "What on earth's this?" I said, "Look at this New Testament I've got." I said, and one of the first verses I read was, "Pray for those who persecute you and love your enemies." And I was like, that's harder to do than that. I said, it's easy to go and do this. I said, but pray for your enemies. I said, that takes something. And I said, and for that something must be faith. And yeah, he was just like, so we ended up having a few little debates, and that's when I started learning the main apologetics, if you like.
Wow.
To counter Islam during debating my friend that I grew up with in prison.
Wow. That's wild. I
Mm.
mean, that's pretty unexpected.
Yeah, and the funniest thing about it all is I learned that quickly, and because I was a chaplaincy orderly, so I was able to. I had to work in the chapel, which was also a multi-faith area, so it was used as a mosque. It was also used as everything else. So I was there every day, so I had access to so many materials, and even the hadiths, they were there. And by the end of before I got released, I actually took on and started debating the imam there. Now, when I mentioned the age of Aisha, you should have seen the faces of that prison drop. Because they didn't even know themselves. And yeah, it was crazy. It was, yeah. I wish I could go back now with the knowledge I had.
So yeah, I mean, I would love to do a stream with you at some point about that exploration, different religions, and all that. I don't know if we have.
Yeah.
I mean, at least in more depth. But like in brief, so I mean, you were confronted with Islam, and was it? I mean, you mentioned that you didn't want to take your shahada. Was it something that you already knew that you didn't want to be a part of Islam, or what was it that told you, you know what, I don't want anything to do with this wondrous cult?
Well, it's because during my childhood, I was always told about Jesus. And in my times of darkness during my life, and bear with me, right? In the normal world, when I'm on my own or with friends, and I seen Christians or Jehovah's Witnesses approach me, or anyone approach me and spoke to me about Christianity, I would mock them, persecute them. I was nasty to them. I was really horrible. I used to stand there in the street and go, God, where are you? Come on, strike me down, God. And mate, I was one of those, and I'd say, look, see, nothing happened. There you go.
Yeah,
and
I'm just laughing because again, I'm being as brainwashed by mass media as I am. Everything triggers like a movie scene to me. So I'm thinking about Bruce. I think it's like Bruce Almighty, where he's at the beginning of the movie shouting, "Smite me, Almighty Smiter!" Like
Yeah, that was basically what I was doing. And I even to this one guy, I said, "Why don't you call your God to come downstairs now and have a debate with me?" And I fell ill that night, strangely enough. But yeah. Sorry, what were we saying?
Yeah, basically your exploration, and you were basically challenging God. You were
Yeah. So something in me, and then obviously growing up in the school, I remember we used to do hymns and we used to say prayer before lunch. at school. And we did the nativity every year, Christingle. We did all sorts, and obviously I remember watching not the Passion of Christ, sorry, Jesus of Nazareth, with my grandmother every Easter when I used to stay with her.
Love that movie too. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to just. This sounds terrible, but I only liked the bit when he was crucified, and
Interesting.
which is strange. But yeah, it was.
It's moving, so I mean, like, it's moving. So I can relate. I mean, that's the whole thing of it, right? The crucifixion.
Yeah, definitely. And then Christmas carols as well, like, So the whole idea of something, it felt foreign to me anyway. It felt spiritually foreign. But yeah, Jesus has always been in my life, and I've always known, like, even when I've had times of when desperation, even as an atheist, and I can guarantee you, most atheists, they'll deny this to your face, but this happens to them. When they're desperate and they're on their own, and something bad's happening, like their parents are dying or something like that, or someone that they love is going through something, they will pray to God, and they'll be like, God, if you are real, or even just saying, God, if you are real, you're not talking to no one. You must, and it does say in the Bible, in our hearts we do know God exists, and to deny him is just, it's just silly. And I always knew, that Jesus existed and he died on the cross. That was just fact, and stuff like that. And this whole Islam thing, it just didn't seem right. I can't explain it. It just, for someone to come up and say to you, if you don't say these words, then we're going to stab you to death. That's not a good thing.
Right.
That's not something I want to be part of, especially when I'm trying to better my life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, to me, it just seemed everything was wrong. Like, and it's not. I'm not, and not only that, I'm my own spirit. You will not break me and tell me what I have to do or can or can't do as a person. Everything I do by my choice. And I'm just one of those that, if you threaten me with something like that, I'm going to challenge it,
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying is powerful. It just reminds me of the thing that you hear, especially with combat veterans. They always talk about, people who come in to their situation who are atheists, and they start harping on the quote unquote Bible thumpers and making fun of them and all that. But they say as soon as the bullets start flying, they're the first ones that are yelling out to God. Suddenly they find their religion. Yeah,
it's so true. I even know it. Yeah, it is. I know so many people, and they all go take the mic, and where's your sky daddy? All this stuff. Even now, I get it off some people. I laugh because there's times when I've looked on their Facebook and I can scroll back. I've even done it to a few people, and they've said, "Oh, looky here. What's this? You've written a post saying fly high. Hope you're up there in heaven having a few pints with so and so, and all this stuff." I was like, "Oh, heaven exists, does it? So does that mean you believe in God now?" And you put them on the spot, and they don't know what to say. They're fools. But at the end of the day, like for me, it was when I come out of prison, and because I had the experience, as we say, in the prison, which is what brought me to Christ. And then when I come out and I looked at the science and the astronomy and the constants of the universe, that's what got me as well. So I first set myself out to prove or disprove that God exists, or that there could be a God. And there was just, scientifically, it's impossible to say nothing creates everything, And even the Big Bang, when they say Big Bang, it created time, space, and matter. Or did it? Because where did the Big Bang happen? What time did the Big Bang happen? And with what matter did the Big Bang make the matter with? You know, it don't make sense to me.
Yes.
You know, and like, well, someone asked Ricky Gervais once where the Big Bang happened, and he said in space. And he said, "Well, I thought the Big Bang created space." So I could the Big Bang happen in its but not in itself. You know, it just don't make sense. So there has to be something outside of this universe that is the creator of the universe. You know, there has to have been something that's eternal, that's personal. And when you look at the constants that happen, it's scientifically impossible. I mean, if you look at it respectively, where people talk about chance, there is actually no such thing as chance. Realistically, if you look at it deeply, someone written a book on it. I can't remember who it was, but it was talking about the word chance, the chances of something happening. But there is actually no such thing. Things are what they are. And that was an amazing read. But again, I'm going off subject here. But yeah, so it was first.
Well, it's part of your formation, let's say, of who you are now. So I wouldn't say it's too far off subject.
Yeah, so it's first. I went on prove. First to see, does God exist? When it took me about a day, 2 days to realize that it was just a stupid argument to say that a creator couldn't exist. So then I moved on to which religion. So first of all, I thought, well, although I believe in Jesus and stuff, I thought I want to look at Hinduism because it's the oldest religion. I thought that must be the plausible religion because, well, they have respect for Jesus. It's the Sanskrit is the oldest language written that they found in writing and stuff. So I thought, well, it's got to be Hinduism. And then I looked at it, and that was just so many contradictions. And then within an hour, I think, of like watching YouTube videos debunking Hinduism, that was a no-go. So then I thought, well, what was this Islam thing about again? I wanted to learn a bit more about that. And again, it took me an hour to realize. Okay, I was right the first time.
Not even a couple of days, huh? Just an hour.
Yeah, okay, I was right. What I was thinking about that. And then I thought I'd look up, and then it was mainly Christianity. And then I was like, right, the crucifixion, then the prophecies, and then the chances of the prophecies happening, and then like what could a man actually fulfill their own and stuff. I looked into all this, and then the historical evidence, then the manuscript, the amount of Greek manuscripts that we have, and the age. And then you have the witnesses being women in Judaism was a complete no-go thousands of years ago, and yet they're described in the Gospels. And there was loads of things, scientific proofs. I'd be here all day if I was to list why Christianity is the true religion. There's a completely different session that would take weeks.
Well, let's
go over. But there are many reasons. But yeah, we can do that in the future. But for now. But yeah, I found that it was the turning point for me was a film called The Case for Christ by Lee Strobel, who was doing exactly what I was doing, potentially, but in the opposite way. He was doing it to debunk Christianity. I was there trying to prove that it was right. Yeah, so his wife gets approached by someone who is a Christian. She decides to... They were both atheists, and they had the normal lifestyle of atheists where they party hard and sex out of wedlock and stuff like that. And then basically she turns into a Christian. He goes berserk. He doesn't want God in his house, and it affects their marriage terribly. So he goes out, and he was working for, I think it was some kind, if not the New York Times or the New York Post, He was working for some really important newspaper, and he was also covering this case for this murder thing or something at the same time. But he deliberately set himself out using the connections he had with all these experts worldwide on certain topics to do with Christianity to debunk Christianity, to prove to his wife that God's not real and Jesus is just a myth, and everything around it is all false. And at the very end, when he does this massive drawing board, and at the end he becomes a Christian. He couldn't deny the evidence was just so. He come up with every question like, well, but couldn't the witnesses have been hypnotized? Couldn't this have happened? Couldn't this? Or couldn't? Surely he would have been alive still when he was in the tomb. That's why he was alive. So, and then they explain the blood separating from water and that being explained in the gospel, and yeah, and he was when the doctor said that actually happens when you die, the water separates from the blood. They wouldn't have knew that back then, right, in the gospels, and that everything added together. He said this, and it shocked him.
Yeah.
And it brought him to his knees, and he became a Christian, and now he is one of the best Christian scholars and apologists in America.
The irony. Yeah, so exactly. I mean, we're talking about a movie, but it's a movie based on a true story. I did watch it, come to think of it, a while back. I just hate to admit it, remember it. I'll have to take a look at it again.
But yeah, it was that. Yeah, it was that.
Okay, so some people talk about this magic, honestly, magic, God forgive me, like this magical, and I'm using that word because of the way mass media is. I guess I'm more brainwashed than what I meant. But what I'm trying to say is like this miraculous divine intervention. Let me call it what it is instead of silly. So did you have moments of that where you started developing this relationship with God and you started noticing these, let's call them answered prayers or something to that effect?
I had it big time.
Oh, wow.
I had the shock on my life. It will stay with me for the rest of my life.
Wow.
And because of it, I would never ever deny God or Jesus. Never ever.
Amen.
I would deny absolutely anything before them.
And that's sorry, I just got to say that's literally scripture. Once you have the taste of grace, there's no turning back.
Well, no, because it's more real than life itself. When you experience what I have and what other people who might be watching this and may have had the same experience or encounter as what I'm talking about, they will know exactly what I'm talking about when I say it's more real than life. It's hard to explain with human words, but
Well, that's the thing. I mean, God challenges us to experience Him and live Him instead of forcing people to have to believe or do certain things at the expense of facing the sword otherwise, like some other cults do. Anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I challenged God. One point. So this was again later on. I was on my second. So this was at HMP Oakwood. I was in prison. And this was, when I told you I came out to try and prove which religion was right and stuff like that.
Right.
It was like, because I knew that God was real, but at this point, but I didn't know, because I knew that there were so many different types of Christianity. There were so many different religions that embraced Jesus and stuff. I didn't know what direction to go in. If that made sense. So that's why I was trying to look them all up. And but the experience for me was when I was in Oakwood, and I basically challenged God. I was like, God, if you're real, just first of all, let me win this bingo line. So they had this game of bingo they were playing on the wing, and this was during lockdown. This was through COVID. This is when COVID started. So the whole wing was involved. And I said, look, if you're real, it's not for the prize. And I said that with my heart. I didn't want the prize. It weren't the prize that I was interested in. But I've been listening to, I don't know if you've heard or ever listened to Premier Christian Radio. Have you ever heard that, listened to it?
No.
Oh, right. Well, so I was listening to that, and I kept feeling something, and I couldn't explain what it was, but it was like almost like hyperness, but in a loving sense. It was something I'd never had before, and it was giving me so much joy. Now I can tell you it's the Holy Spirit, but yeah, I didn't know what it was, so I was like, "Look, God, if you're real, just prove it to me. You know, show me the way. Show me. You know that you're there and you're listening." And I thought, right, I'm going to make a prayer. So I said a prayer and said, "Look, God, you know what to do. You know what's in my head. You know what's in my heart." I said, "Let me win this this bingo, this line of bingo, on the wing, and I'll give my life to you." And lo and behold, I won the line of bingo. And I thought, oh, wow. I also won some Tonics tea cakes. But again, I wasn't really interested in that. But that frightened me. That gave me goosebumps. But then I thought, well, hang on a minute. As you do. You know, anyone could have won that line. So I thought, right. Can I get the second line? Thank God. Please. And then I will give my life to you. So I prayed that. And I got the second line, didn't I? And I was like, wow. And this was scaring me to a point where I wanted to talk to someone about it. But I thought I'd go even further and ask for a full house, Nico. And lo and behold, obviously, our Godhead's a Trinity. I got all three, didn't I? I got the line, the second line, and a full house. And I won all three.
No kidding.
There were 75 participants. So even with that, right, so God did all that for me. And then that shook me. And then about an hour later, we had exercise. So I went out and I was talking to a couple of lads on the yard about God. We were just talking, you know. I was trying to, like, explain in a different way of what happened without sounding like, you know, like I was already a committed Christian, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I did that, and they were saying, "Oh, don't worry about it. You know, it's a coincidence." And I thought, oh, okay. Anyway, I walked back to my cell, and as I was walking in, and the TV was off when I'd left my cell. They make sure it is, but when you go, you're not allowed it on. So I made sure it was off, and I went outside, and obviously I come back, and Premier Christian Radio was on. I thought that was strange because the last thing that I was watching was BBC One, and not only that, what's even stranger is that, you know, the telly's on itself, you know, because I turned it off. So what's going on there? So I thought nothing of it, walked in, and then all of a sudden there was this song that I was listening to that I fell in love with called "In Christ Alone," and because I heard it a few times on that radio station, and I thought that's nice, I like that. And all of a sudden the presenter said, "I just want to say I got to dedicate this song to Byron, and this is called In Christ Alone." And obviously, like, to me, I mean, this sent goosebumps down my spine again. That was the confirmation for me. But to me, to explain it, is that was definitely for another Byron somewhere else. But you know that expression or saying God works in mysterious ways?
Right.
I was there at that point, to walk in at that point after debating whether he exists or not, after everything I had prayed for. You know, I had to listen to that and hear that. So whether that, you know, the way, how can I try and work this out? It was like, maybe God got someone to pray or ask that song for a different Byron, So at the same time, he knew that I was going to walk in my cell and the telly would be on, and I would hear it. So that's what that's
The
I'm
odds
trying
of
to
that,
make.
right?
Yeah, I'm trying to make sense of how it happened. So of course, like even then, that I was so scared because that hit me right in the soul, and I even rang my dad. I rang my dad, I rang my brother, I rang my friends, and said that, did you ring any radio and ask for a song for me? And then I thought that's impossible because I haven't even told them that I'm listening to a Christian radio or anything. They would have laughed at me. So I thought this ain't right. And then I said, look, I promised you I'd give you my life, and I did. I said a proper prayer from the heart, as to speak, and I dropped to my knees and I gave my life there and then to God.
Mm.
And I said, although I don't, and I remember it. I remember some of it. I said, although I don't know which church or which group, I said group, which group of people I should be with to worship you, I will find you like you have found me. And I remember saying that. And
Wow.
and then obviously when I came out, I started trying to find that group. Led me at first to, because I was desperate to get into like a church as soon as I possibly could to worship God because my life changed from that day. Literally, this is a topic that could go on for days talking about. Every bad memory I've ever had through my childhood disappeared. Every bit of hatred I've ever had for someone has disappeared. All of this disappeared that day. The love I had for people I hated come into my heart. I was a mess that night, Nico. I was like crying my eyes out in my cell.
Wow.
I even had to call out what they call a listener, which is another prisoner who volunteers to listen to the problems that you got and work liaisons with the prison guards to help you. So I thought I was genuinely having a mental breakdown, but because it was all real as well. It was like I was halfway stuck between being joyous, but also realizing that I have to change and my life's going to change, and everything I thought was life is going. So it was like goodbye to the old me and hello to the new me. So I was stuck, if that makes sense. It was hard. It was hard. It was hard to grasp.
That's a profound awareness that you're describing, which I don't know if I've heard others quite put it that way. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's scary. It is scary because you're saying goodbye to the old you and everything that you thought was your life, and that's hard because the atheistic way of living, going to nightclubs and you think it's all fun, but once you become more Christian-like or more holy-like, you realize why they're all, but how it's bad and stuff like that. As you mature in your faith, you realize that actually that wasn't a way of life. But in my head at that moment in the cell, it was like, hang on, I love this, I love that. I used to enjoy. I got to say goodbye to. I thought I have no choice. I am going to be, and I was stereotypical as well, thinking I'm going to be a churchgoer now. But it's nothing like that. The whole vision that you have as an atheist on Christianity is completely different to what it is to be a Christian. Completely. Complete. I mean, look at Sam Shamoon. Would you call him a Bible basher?
Right. I mean, there's a lot of apostates who become Christian apologists or just Christians that, I mean, exactly. They before their conversion, before their repentance, they were haters of Christ, and they did all the nasty things themselves. It's fascinating to hear that.
And then I realized as well, once I become a Christian, I wasn't alone. There was many people who I loved in music and films and stuff like that they were Christian also. And I thought, wow, so this is not a small thing. Like, Then I was Googling how many people, and realized that actually most of the world do believe in God. In fact, I think it was 83% of the world's population believe in a higher power. So only 17%, don't. So, yeah, I mean, even just things like that. And I was blinded by everything. And and it's so easy. It's so easy to be. You don't even know you're blind, do you? When you're an atheist, you don't even know. Like for me, I didn't even know. I just thought, yeah, you're born. You do what you want. If you get a good job, you got good money. Some people have kids, some don't. You do what you want, basically. If you do bad, you end up in jail, and that's it. And then you die.
Yeah.
Little did I know that this life is a grain of sand in comparison to a never-ending desert of eternity, which we got to look forward to.
Yeah, it's funny you said that, because I remember, like, and I talked about this on your channel when I was talking about my little testimony. Basically that period in my younger 20s when I was just getting into my stretch of drinking and so on, I had also slipped into atheism without even realizing it or wanting it or whatever. It just became a thing of, well, again, I was raised in the mass media, and I was believing what mass media was talking about and doing or saying, telling us to believe and so on. And so before I knew it, when someone would bring up something religious or whatever, I would in a knee jerk, I would instinctively snicker at it and just not believe. So yeah, I mean, it's like it kind of creeps up on you like a thief without you realizing it.
But do you know what, as well, is like amazing with Christianity? Like with atheism, everything's just the same. You wake up, it's boring, you go to sleep. But with Christianity, it's like, even yesterday, there was, sorry, my dogs. Rocky, come.
Yeah.
Even like with Christianity, you learn something new. There's always something amazing just round the corner. It's like yesterday, I was looking up certain things. I won't say it, but there was something I was looking up, and it was like the corruption of some of the saints, and then there was this the Shroud of Turin, which is a bit of a
Controversy.
Yeah. So it was like I was looking up things like that, and there was a lot of surprises that I had then that I learned nothing to do with that, but that popped up in some of the episodes that I was watching.
Mm-hmm.
And even as a Christian apologist who will happily debate any Muslim or apologist or dawah team or whatever, and with the stuff that I know now, there's still plenty I haven't learned yet. Even about my own faith, and I'll admit that easy. I don't think there's any sane Christian scholar or apologist in this world that will say they know absolutely everything about our faith or Christ or
Unless they're trying to sell you on something, then there's those. But
yeah, definitely. But yeah, it's you learn something new every day, and good things happen all the time. And like I said, my whole life I've been blessed since then. I was a homeless, womanizing, drunkard, violent piece of garbage, basically, good for nothing. Had nobody, had nothing, not a penny to my name. To now I'm engaged, with a family. I've got my own home, a lovely home with lovely views. I've got my dog. I've got, my family back as well. That I lost along the way. I've got a mountain of new friends. I've got my faith, which is the most important thing to me. And life, even with my illness now, I feel like I'm the most blessed man on earth. Wow. Because of all the things. Just having my faith alone, knowing that eternity is there. I know, we're not to say we're guaranteed it, because God is has the final say on that. But to know that it's even a possibility and that is something that I'm working towards personally, is beautiful. I think that's the most beautiful thing you could ever have in life and ever offer someone in life. And that's what I hope I can do, you know, help others, you know, with my channel. And obviously I told you, you know, my channel is not just based on Christian apologetics. You know, I do involve myself in a lot of activism for politics. Because I'm sure, as you know, there is a massive attack on the Western culture, and the Western culture was formed on Christianity. It doesn't look like it now, but it was, and everything that we love, and you know, even that the atheists love, they don't know it yet, but it's going to disappear slowly but surely.
Yeah, there's there's only so far you can push someone before they start pushing back, and I think that's what we're seeing in society. The anti-Christian oneness, malice, and hypocrisy, and all these things have gone so far that even those that were followers of it or militants of it themselves are now repenting and coming to God, which is a wonderful thing to say. It's amazing. It's glorious.
Yeah, definitely.
So let me just, for those who might still be struggling with miracles and whether or not they're real, if not anything, like I did accidentally earlier, instinctively, because I too have all these things ingrained in my head because I'm one mass media's biggest victims. I used the word magic instead of miracle earlier. So for those that are struggling with miracles, whether or not they're real or whatnot, want to pray that you, like we just talked about, or you just talked about, I should say, how you opened your heart. You know, you were in your cell. You had been through all these things. You had been attacked by the pagan cult Islam and its militants. You were threatened, and then the authorities, who have this oneness chapel where all religions do the same thing as if it's all the same God. That's very Masonic, by the way. I just noticed what you're hearing that. So they turned you away and wouldn't help you. They refused to do their job, and so you were put in a position where you kind of hit a bottom, and in that process, you just found yourself. Yeah, I mean, you find yourself reaching out. You knocked, and your prayers were answered. Next thing you know, God's knocking directly to you, and then you're on your knees, opening your heart up to God, and then the rest is history, so to speak.
Oh, definitely. And do you know what the weirdest thing about the whole of this, which is what I've, funnily enough, this is at the start of everything, which I forgot to bring up, was, you know, when I told you there was me and Turbo, who was a friend who was in the same situation. We saw
the street pooper.
The defecator.
Yeah.
So which is sad as well, because he's still living the life that he was living then. But
let's pray for him, people.
Yeah. I basically beforehand, just before we went to go and smash the windows, because I didn't know what to do, and the whole window smashing thing wasn't in my head. That wasn't my idea. I know whose idea it was. It wasn't mine, because that's the last thing I would have done. But I went to, weird, I'm having deja vu now. I went to the cathedral. There's a place, it's a cathedral right next to the council where we did the windows. And I went in there whilst he was outside smoking whatever he was smoking. And I don't know why, but I prayed and I was like, God help me, please. Like, what do I do? I'm dying here. Like, I'm skin and bone. I've never been skin and bone. I'm a healthy weight, or I've always been overweight. But I'm skin and bone. I'm yellow. My family have given up on me. I've got nothing. My car, all the possessions, even my dog's ashes have been taken away from me. I've got nothing. What if you are a loving God and you are real, then please just help me now. What do I do? And I said that prayer and nothing. I lit a candle, and but I said it earnestly, as if he was in front of me, When I was doing it directly, I opened my heart instead of being, even like half baked on whether he was real or not. I was saying it as if he was there. And I come out of the cathedral and this idea just popped into my head out of nowhere, like, go smash the windows. It was almost like I was being told it telepathically, go smash the windows. And I was like, what? I even laughed, like sniggered to myself, and my mate Turbo turned around and said, what are you laughing at? And I said, I just had an idea. And he goes, what? I said, I just thought, like, if we go smash those windows and we ask the police to remand us, we can sort ourselves out. I mean, we were moaning earlier that, we were homeless and stuff like that. If we go smash those windows, we get remanded, because you're already on bail, I'm on bail. And we can use that. You can get your wife back and your kids back, which what he was, worried about. And, I can get sober and rebuild my life. And then, that's when we decided we were going to do it. Because he pushed for it then. He was like, yeah, that's like the greatest idea. And I almost felt like a sense of accomplishment. But to me, like, yes, I used to be a bit violent and I wanted a scrap or whatever when I was drunk. But when sober, or if I've never been one for criminal damage or anything like that, never.
Okay.
If anything, when sober, I was always still, even though I was an atheist, quite a polite person, and I was quite a good person. It was only when I was drunk I was, an absolute savage. And the things that mainly with my mouth, the things that come out of my mouth were absolutely horrific. And obviously through my faith, I've actually had many other occasions where I've cried about some of the things that I've said to people that you can't take back. But, which is repentance, I suppose, in a way. But yeah, and then when we did it, I'll never forget the pressure that was on my head. And it was like I was being held down. I wasn't glued. Like, I could move my feet, but I couldn't, at the same time, I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't walk. I couldn't run. And something was pushing my head. I had this pressure in my head, but not inside. It was like on top. So it felt like someone's hand was on me saying, you ain't going nowhere. You will stay until the plan's done.
Wow.
And then it happened. And all I remember, I don't know if I remember saying to you this in one of I think it was in your testimony, is when I woke up in that cell. And this little lady called Sister Liberata, who was a Catholic nun, and she come in the cell and said, I've been waiting for you. Because I was semi-conscious, and I come round and she was there, and she was throwing holy water all over me. And then she put, them cards with icons on, those paper cards that you can get. She put a couple of those under my pillow, sprayed the cell, started shaking around this holy water in the cell and all over me, said, I've been waiting for you, which would have freaked me out, and then left a rosary and a book on the side. And she had already booked me in for Bible study 2 days after I met her there in that cell. And although in the Bible study, we didn't really do any Bible study, it was just watching a film. It was that encounter with her was strange. And I've still got to this day, although I'm not Catholic, I've still got that Holy Bible that she gave me, and she signed it, and she written a message in there to me that is still valid to this day, and it'll be valid for the rest of my life. It's beautiful. It's a bit personal, so I'll take a photo and I'll send it to you. I don't want to share it with anyone, because that to me is everything. Because she practically introduced my faith to me.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm flattered. I'm honored. Yeah, and again, I'm honored by how much you've let me into your life, which on a personal note, I really appreciate.
Not a problem. Well, everyone's a brother and sister at the end of the day.
Amen.
Sorry, I was just about to say, I was saying I've got someone in my class, is my sister, staying over with me at the moment, who's currently going through a divorce. The guy basically didn't even have the guts to say it to her face, neither to her directly, neither, but went through me. So I put her up, and I was saying to her as well the same thing. I said, we have to treat everyone like they're our brother and sister, because she's been on a journey of faith too. When I come out and we kind of reunited after I'd been in prison, and I told her I was, a Christian, she was laughing at me. And then when I shown her all the videos that I was watching about the proof for God and the constants of the universe, it was a big shock. And she become Christian too. It's just more of, like, I think she does believe in Christ, but she doesn't attend the church, if that makes sense, or still lives the same way as someone wouldn't, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
without sounding horrible.
Well, I mean, it's common, I'm not going to say anything, but yeah, it's common, unfortunately, and I have family members that are in that same plight, and when you're in that gray area, then it's easier to slip down. So let's pray for her as well, that she continues her search in her path towards God. It keeps asking and knocking on God's door instead of gives in to the enticement, the snares of the world.
Yeah,
yes. So if I may, I know you want to get going soon. I just want to, if I can, just kind of interject with, and again, God, the Holy Spirit, this is something you have to experience for yourself. So for those who, and this is common with atheists, they actually complain about not having that personal relationship with God. And that breaks my heart when I hear that, because you can see in their eyes, you can hear in their words, an actual yearning for God. So I pray that those people open their hearts, their ears, their eyes, but their hearts to God genuinely. And so miracles happen when you are willing to listen and you're willing to be honest with yourself. If you're not going to be at least honest with yourself, then it doesn't matter what miracle God puts in front of you, you're just going to denounce it. And that's the problem with blaspheming the Holy Spirit. Because at that point, you put yourself in a state of disbelief, which is a hell within itself. You basically condemn yourself when you do that. But at any rate, without taking up too much more of your time, let me just share this one story. It's anecdotal, and it's not a very powerful story, but it illustrates what you're talking about earlier about the whole listening to that Christian program and how they mentioned your name and so on. It was an answered prayer. The nun who said you're in a creepy way. I was waiting for you, did these things that obviously impacted you. Anyone could write those things off as a coincidence or whatever, or you're.
Oh, I believe me, let me just expand on that as well. That's not the only. There's been a lot more and a lot more intense things since then, but those were the ones that I was just wanting to, go on through as what we were talking about. They're just what included, but I've had a lot more since then.
I could imagine.
I'm being subject, and of course you'll know as well as I do. A lot of things happen to our Christian brothers and sisters and people we know, and the stories that we hear. Like I know 3 people that have had stage 4 cancer, where they've been told they've got like 6 weeks left to live, and then they make a miraculous recovery. And even doctors cannot explain, even in 2024, what on earth has happened to them.
Right. Amen.
So we hear stuff like this every day. This is normal for us Christians to hear. But for an atheist or someone that is not too sure, you got to get amongst it. You can't just be half-baked on something. You need to open your heart and mind and invite God into your life, because if you don't, then don't expect. Remember, we're here to serve God. Although Jesus come in the flesh and served us, he's done his bit. We're here to serve God now. It's not the other way, because if that was the case, he'd be talking to us every single minute of every single day. That we need faith. It's faith That's why it's faith. That's why we have that faith. That's our duty to God, is our faith.
Yeah. Have you ever watched the movie Pulp Fiction?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Of course. Okay. Yeah. It used to be in my top 5, but when Quentin Tarantino publicly started being apologetic for pedophilia, then yeah, I just couldn't take it anymore from him, and so it slipped out. But the movie still has its redeeming value and its powerful Christian message, even though it's all over the map, and it definitely promotes a lot of things that are of the world and so on. Maybe we should do a review of that sometime, like talk about, because I think it demonstrates what we're talking about here really well. How you can have this miraculous miracle that's life-changing, and then two people see and experience the same thing at the same time, yet one chooses to acknowledge it and the other one mocks it, lies to himself, and everyone writes it off. And so
that's it.
Yeah, the end result is completely consequential for both of them in their walks in life because of it.
Yeah.
So, sorry. I mean, forgive me. I'm trying to get this one little story, and again, it's not compared to the things you shared with us today. It's not much, but I just want to try and reinforce what you're saying here as far as the miracles go. When I was, let's see, I was in and out of seminary. In between, I started doing this free poker tournament. It was my guilty pleasure, let's say. I was able to go and play at a sit and go without spending any money, so it wasn't actual gambling. But I loved Texas Hold'em. That's when I actually started learning it in that game. And it was in a bar. There was a complete dive. There was all kinds of shady characters in it. At any rate, thank God I went there. For some reason, even though, as you mentioned before, you try not to come off religious, I was trying to do that, not to come off religious, so they don't already write me off or treat me a certain way. But for whatever reason, I was still projecting that, and they still started treating me like that. Some of them hated me, but a lot of them were they didn't even want to curse around me. So whatever that's worth. But also, like I said, I didn't know anything about Texas Hold'em. And so I was just basically going completely off of my reads, just reading other people and playing the game, playing the person instead of the game.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I was very good at it and terrified some actual Vegas poker pros in another tournament. Anyway, just so you'll know how good my reads were. But they were calling me a luck box. Like I would keep making these bad plays because I would see them on television, and I thought, well, that's the play you got to make. But those were the exceptions to the rule. I was watching it, but I didn't know anything about poker, so I thought that's how you're supposed to play. I didn't know. At any rate, so yeah, now I'm the luck box to them, and I'm leaving the bar one day, and one of the guys stops me and says, "Hey, man," and he was playing one of those video lotto slot games, right? The jackpot games. He was like, "Hey, man, touch the game for me so I can hit." And I don't know what came over me, but there was like forgive me for calling it this, but it was literally like a premonition, like a moment of clarity. And I was like, I knew that if I touched it, it would hit. And I was like, dude, and just with absolute certainty and severity, I was like, look, man, I'm sorry I can't do that for you because if I touch this game, it's going to hit for you. It's like, he's like, I know, no, man, come on. I was like, dude, I was getting upset with him. I was, look, if I touch it, it's going to hit. You don't understand what I'm trying to tell you. It's like, I know. It's like, dude, I'm telling you. It was like being kind of forceful. I was like, okay, if you insist. And so I touched it, and boom, he hits the jackpot. Wow. And it's like, see, yeah. He goes, see, I told you. Like, no, listen to me. And then I got really loud. I was like, listen to me. You don't understand. This is not from God. This is from the devil trying to lure you in to keep you in. Listen.
Yeah.
You know? Okay, so there's more to the story. This guy was kind of eyeballing me after that. And so a little bit down the road, he kind of pulls me to the corner. He starts telling me about his Black Rock experiences and how he went to Katrina and how after Hurricane Katrina, at New Orleans, after Hurricane Katrina, he was hired as a merc, as an ex-military person to go in there and basically assassinate looters and tag them as Katrina victims. So he's confessing this major sin to me.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So I mean, I'm no priest or I'm definitely not God, but I don't know. For him, it had some kind of redemptive value to that moment. So I don't know if I'm overdoing this story, but it just feels like maybe it had more meaning to him too, that moment, than I realized. But I'm just trying to say, what are the odds of all these things, you know? I mean, again, this is all anecdotal. It doesn't compare to the things you share with us today or some of the other stories that we haven't shared that we can. But the bottom line is this. If you're not willing to acknowledge what you experience or what you witness, maybe time and again, then what's the point? I mean, at that point, you're in essence tying God's hands. I mean, he can move a mountain for you, and if you can just say, "Oh, I'm just delusional," well, you've just missed out on an amazing, magnificent miracle. That's biblical.
You know, when you said like you had that clarity that if you did it again, you knew, and it was weird, and it was almost strange because
Right.
it was like it was meant to be, but it's also like this isn't right. Like why should I know that this is going to happen? That's exactly what happened to me with the bingo the third time when I said, "Give me a full house." I knew the full house was going to happen.
Yeah.
I knew it. It already happened before it, before I'd even prayed it. It already happened. It's so hard to explain, but
Yeah.
I suppose it's like what eternity is like. Is everything has already actually happened, but it's not played out for us yet. That's how we know. God knows everything that's happened, before and after and during, and because God is I am, not I was or I will be. He is I am. He's forever. He's he's the creator of time. He's beyond time. He can rewind, fast forward, delete, add on. Do absolutely everything he wants to. And I suppose that's why we're blessed because we have that freedom, that free will to either live with him in eternity and have a loving relationship, or we can just do what we want now and then have a separation from it. And that's choice. And it's up to you guys. If you're watching and you don't believe, then I'm not telling you get on your knees. All I'm telling you is look into it. Look, do what I did. Do what Lee Strobel did. Try and debunk Christianity. Go on to YouTube. Go on to Google, and have a look. Have a look at all the facts. Have a look at the prophecies. Because most people that I speak to when I talk about Christianity or God, they go, "Oh, the Bible," and they think it's just one book written by one person, which in essence it is, because it's the author is well, it's written by men but guided by the Holy Spirit, but and it is a compilation of lots of books that were over 3 continents by over 40 something authors in 3 different languages. People don't understand this, and the likelihood of everything connecting like a jigsaw puzzle to create this one beautiful story and one beautiful faith, is it's just unreal. When you look at it that way, it just wouldn't happen. You couldn't do it today. Like I said, right, so and so went to the shop, and then someone in America writes and bought a bottle of Coca-Cola, and then someone else in Russia writes, and then this man came, or this man will come, called John. And then someone in Poland goes, John is a man. It's just like that. And then one day you compile it, and you got the whole story. And then obviously the proofs and stuff. It's just hard to explain, isn't it? At the end of the day, I don't know how to explain it. It's just But you will know if you look into it. You will know that no matter how many times you try to debunk God on any factor, whether it's the constants of the universe, whether it's the fact of Jesus' crucifixion being one of the most ancient historic facts in history, anything, you cannot deny it, and you have to look into it. You don't just this is the problem with atheists. They've already made their mind up without even studying anything. They act like they're already scholars on the matter, and they're not. You're not all Richard Dawkins, okay? And even Richard Dawkins has been debunked so many times, it's unreal. By even the most half-baked Christian apologists and scholars that have existed have made Richard Dawkins look so stupid, and you can find those videos too. But it's you have your free will, use it, find out for yourselves, and believe me, if you do find God or God finds you, and you do it with an open heart, your life will change for the better in so many ways you wouldn't believe. That's what I can say. That's all I can say. That's my message.
Yeah. I mean, it's heartbreaking. Again, my experience with atheists, not all of them, but even militant ones. I had friends that were militant atheists, and they were lost. They were looking.
Yeah,
it's just heartbreaking, man. Like some of them clearly, like I said, just yearn for just don't know what to do. Just don't want to take a step.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, what would be your? Yeah, I know you have to go soon. What would be your closing thoughts, or was that it? I mean, what you just said was brilliant. But is there what would your closing thoughts be overall for folks? Or am I tagging with something that you've already done?
What are my closing thoughts? Well, I would say what I wanted to say, because I shared this link telling advising people that this isn't just going to be, although a lot of the context is about God, it's also what I do and who I am now. Who is the Patriotic Christian? Because that is the title. Now, I am someone who so who am I? Basically, I'm a Christian apologist. I'm well known now amongst apologists in the UK, and I get on with most of the apologists that are here and in contact with them over here in the United Kingdom. My profile is growing every day, and so is my knowledge. I debate Dawa teams in person and live. I try and debate them even when I'm in supermarkets. If I come across Muslims and they create dialogue with me, I'll debate them there and then, because that's who I am. I try and bring as many people as I can to Christ, but not only that, I also speak against wokeism. I see the damage that it does on our culture in all aspects, including at schools with children, indoctrinating children, brainwashing them with all this LG, LED, HD, TV stuff, the rainbow people, and I also at the same time teach the lay people who moan about immigration and Islam being the cause of certain crimes here in the UK and in other countries. I try and teach them some verses and give them explanations of why some of these crimes happen, and point them out to a few hadiths that give permission for some of these crimes to happen, and explain why some of the things what we're witnessing today are playing out. And I also foretell and warn people as well what will happen if people don't stand up against it. So I try and educate people as much as I can, especially with things like the conflict that's going on between Israel and Palestine. I try and talk to people about that, and I give them. Oh, there's so many people I've had discussions with where they changed their mind. It took me 5 minutes, where I go on about the wars that have happened in the past and stuff like that. And I also got friends that grew up in Palestine on my social media accounts, including the son of Hamas. I've got him as well that I've spoken to, and Dor Shakar, who's on my Facebook. I speak to him all the time. We have to translate what we're saying to one another, but we get there. He grew up there, and he knows exactly what it's like. So yeah, on that front, I use them as well. They help. There is an actual message that Dor Shakar has made with, I can't remember what it's Praga U. Have you heard it? That media platform, Praga?
Yeah, I've heard of it. I might have even visited, but it's not really. It's not shady.
Well, I need to send you a video later. Remind me. It's
Okay.
called a message, dear infidels, a warning to America, and it's a video that has been made that has got recordings from Palestine before October the 7th of what's being taught there, not just about Jews and Israel, but also about guys in America, you guys in America, and us guys in the West as a whole. Um, Stuff they're teaching kids, stuff that that they pray about, stuff that they wish to achieve. I make shorts and content covering what sheikhs, imams, and Islamic scholars say and predict what will happen to globalization of Islam, which inevitably will happen. I believe personally it will. It's beginning to happen. It's only last week two guys got into the councils here in the UK, both Muslim leaders, part of and have links to some terrorist organizations. And they shouted Allah Akbar when they won their seats in the council and said this is for Gaza instead of this is for Luton or Leeds or wherever they won their seat. So yeah, I try and point people in that direction and show them the truth and say, look, this is what's going on. This is why it's happening. This is what's going to happen if if we don't do this. So that's what I do. And I try to use that with YouTube. I do it in person. I do it with other people as well. And in the future, I'm looking to become more of an activist on this and a speaker also. So I've created links with many people, including Tommy Robinson, Richard Inman, and a few others that I won't mention their names because they wouldn't want to yet, but they're very important and everyone will know them. But yeah, that's what I do. That's who I am. And yeah, I'm the Patriotic Christian. I'm a Christian apologist who loves his country and culture, doesn't want it to change, understands that it was built on Christian values, and wants it to go back to its old ways and, make it the way that it used to be. Because that's when even the atheists will agree. That's when people were more happier living.
Yeah. 21st century has been pretty difficult.
Yeah.
So yeah, with all that being said, I gotta say, man, like I don't know, you probably guessed by the thumbnail that I put up. My favorite thing is your shorts and your expressions. It doesn't matter what content is. Just your expressions alone are priceless. You know,
you can bring one up if you want. I don't know. Can you bring one up?
I forgot. Oh my goodness, I forgot. I said I was gonna do that, but I forgot. Leave it to me. Daggone it.
Okay.
My apologies, man. But yeah,
No worries.
please, folks, go to his channel, check out his shorts. They're hilarious. Yeah, and it's a natural talent. Not everyone. I mean, you can work at it. You can get pretty good at it. There's people that dedicate years of practicing facial expressions and all that. You're a natural.
I do it with mine. I genuinely watch it live.
Yeah.
So it'll be different. Someone will send it me, and then I will watch it and do the remix. Then they'll tell me what minute, and I'll say okay, and I'll do it, and then I'll narrow it down, and then people watch. So I make it as genuine as I can.
Give the gospel of Jesus. I was asking if she can come up. I guess she wants to do a closing prayer with us or something to that effect. Are you up for that?
I would be, although I'm already 50 minutes late and I've got to say goodnight to my children.
Okay.
So I will have to leave. I will leave you with give the gospel though, and I will apologize that I can't say hello to her. But maybe next time on the stream if she can join us, that would be great. And yeah, we'll have some dialogue.
No worries. I'm gonna call you PC for short. Patriotic Christian is a mouthful. Yeah, man.
Well, you can still call me Christian. Apologies.
or that too. All right. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, thank you again very much for your time, especially with all the things that are going on in your life. Again, folks, please, give up some prayers for him. And oh, there's Francis, right on cue, right on time too, right at the end. So yeah, some prayers up for him and his family members, and for Turbo. Is that right?
Yeah, Turbo was the guy. Yeah, the guy with the poo on the street.
Yeah, yeah, man. Prayers are appreciated.
Yeah, definitely, man. Well, God bless you as well, Nico. I'll send you that Praga U video as well, and
Yeah,
I'll try and put it. I'll put it in the comments as well for anyone who's watched this.
thank
This is a message to all Americans, whether you're a God believer or not, an atheist or even a Jew or anything. If you're American, you need to watch this, or from the West, you need to watch this. So I'll put it in the link below. It's called Infidels Message for America.
All right, yeah, and I've got a list for you. The also the other videos, the singing with Anne Marie, and the video compilation of the sports figures who praised Christ and got censored for doing that.
Yeah. I'll get to all that.
I'm
Right,
putting you to
my-
work, man. Please forgive me. It's not like you didn't have enough going on in your life. You got my requests here.
Oh, I'll get right into it. Right, I better go. The phone's ringing.
right,
But
man.
thanks for having me. I'll speak
Thank
to you soon.
Okay.
God bless.
Christ
Bye-bye.
is risen. All right, so I give the gospel. I'll give you another minute. If you want to still come up, please feel free to come up. If not, I don't want to kill what I thought was a tremendous stream. Like, there's two great streams back to back. We had Francis, who just showed up just now, yesterday with some really good stuff, and then here, the flavor was slightly different, so to speak. Somewhat different stories when it comes to details, but you can see the essence was essentially the same thing. The spirit's the same. They both had, let's call it, a previous life. They both repented. They both reached out to God, and just like the scripture said, they knocked, and they were found. So, and now they're fighting the good fight, as we say. They're doing their best version of walking the walk and following Christ. And that's a journey. That's a journey till the day we meet our Maker. Okay, so give the gospel. I don't see. I guess you're having tech issues or something. Okay, so we'll just leave it at that. Again, thank you all for being here. The usual like, subscribe, blah blah blah, yada yada. And again, prayers are greatly appreciated. And thank you all for your support. God bless. Keep fighting the good fight. And blessed are those who endure to the end.